This is Course 3, Chapter 2, Lesson 1. This lesson is on fractions and decimals. So today, in this video, we're going to talk about converting from fractions to decimals and then from decimals back to fractions. Remember, we've already done our lesson on integers, so some of these fractions and decimals are going to be negative. The important thing to remember about that is, if it's a negative fraction and you convert it to a decimal, it had better be a negative decimal. If it's a negative decimal and you convert it back to a fraction, it had better be a negative fraction. So let's talk about converting from fractions to decimals. How do you convert from fractions to decimals? Very simply. You do top number divided by bottom number. Okay? Now back in 5th and 6th grade, you learned how to do this by longhand, correct? If you were given 1/4 and told to convert that into a decimal, then what you did was you said, okay, 1 divided by 4. 4 doesn't go into 1, so I have to put a decimal point and a 0. Now 4 goes into 10 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. I have to bring down another 0. 4 goes into 20. 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. So what is 1/4 as a decimal? 0.25. Just to make sure you guys understand the point. Then what is negative 1/4 as a decimal? Well, it's negative 0.25. Okay? Very, very simple. Okay? But the deal is that you guys are allowed to use calculators now. So you need to get used to using calculators. Except for, I have 2 or 3 6th graders in some of my classes. Guys, I want you doing this longhand. Not to be mean, but because you're not going to be allowed to use calculators on the FCAT test this year. So get used to doing it longhand. Make sure you can do it longhand. But on my calculator, I can do it very easily. I do the same thing. Top divided by bottom equals. So I'm going to say 1 divided by 4 equals, and look, there's the answer, 0.25. You see how that works? Beautifully, okay? So very, very simple. To convert a decimal to a fraction, to a decimal. Very easy to convert a fraction to a decimal using a calculator. What if it's one of these? What if it's 2/9? Well, let's go ahead and change 2/9 to a decimal. Well, let's make it fun. Let's make it negative 2/9. Now it's a whole load of exciting, right? Because it's negative 2/9. So I'm going to take my calculator again, and I'm going to take 2 divided by 9 equals, and look what I get. 0.2, right? What does that mean? 0.2 what? Repeating. So what am I going to write? Negative 0.2, and what do I put over the 2? Repeating bar. And that lets me know that I know that 2 is going to go on forever, but I'm not going to write it because I'm going to run out of paper. So I just put the repeating bar next to it. That's negative 0.2 repeating. Remember, if the fraction they give you to convert is negative, your decimal answer better be negative or it's going to be wrong. Okay? So make sure you pay close attention to that. What if it's a mixed number? What if it is a mixed number? What if it looks something like 7 and 4/5? Okay? Do we have to convert this whole thing back into an improper fraction to change it to a decimal? Some of us may think we have to. Some of us may have been taught that we have to at some point. That we have to go, 7 times 5 is 35 plus 4 is 39, and then do 39 divided by 5. But that's not true. Okay? That's not true. I'll show you on my calculator. If I do 39 divided by 5 equals, I'm going to get 7.8, correct? What's that whole number on that? The whole number on that is 7, correct? Well, what's the whole number on my mixed number right now? It's 7. So if the whole number in the mixed number is 7, guess what it's going to be when you write the decimal? 7. It's not going to change, right? So this is going to equal 7 point something. The something is what we're looking for. And where does the something come from? The fraction 4/5. So that's the only thing that we have to convert is a fraction 4/5. So we do 4 divided by 5 equals, and there it is, we get 0.8. Okay? 0.8. And that's what we stick on the end here. 7.8. And that's converting a mixed number to a decimal. Now, yeah, some of these get trickier than others because some of these have repeating bars, and you got to know where to put the repeating bar. This lesson in your book deals with making sure you put the repeating bar in the right place when you get a decimal number. For example, where does the repeating bar go on this decimal? .6393939. Where does the repeating bar go? What's repeating? Is the 6 repeating? No, the 6 isn't repeating. What's repeating? The 3 and the 9. So do we put the bar over the whole thing like this? No. We erase this part and we put the bar over the part that's going to repeat, the part that's going to keep going on forever, which is the 3, 9. Okay? The bar goes over the 3 and the 9, not the whole thing. If I were to put the bar like that, then what am I saying? That it's going to go 2.63963963969. But this one was just going 2.6393939393939. So you got to make sure you put the bar over only what is repeating when you have a repeating decimal. Only over what's repeating. Let's do another one. How about this one? How about here? 2.20396050505. Let's make it negative to make life interesting, right? So what's this going to become? Well, negative 2.2039605 with the repeating bar over what? Just the 0 and the 5, because that's all that's going to repeat. That's all that's going to repeat for the rest of the way. Let's do this one. How would you write 8 and 4/9 as a decimal? Well, once again, 8's the whole number. It's going to stay the whole number, right? So it's going to become 8 point what? Well, take my calculator and I punch in 4 divided by 9 equals, and I get 0.4444444444444, right? Okay, so that's going to be what? 0.4 repeating. Here's a little trick for you to look at with fractions and fractions that become repeating decimals when you're dealing with. Anything over a 9 or over a series of 9s becomes a repeater. For example, 2 over 9 is 0.2 repeating. Yes, it is. 13 over 99 is 0.13 repeating. You take your calculator if you don't believe me. 13 divided by 99 equals, check that out, huh? You see? So that's a cool little trick with the 9s. Even something like 7 over 999 is going to be, check this out, 0.007 repeating. Let's take a look. 7 divided by 999 equals 0.007007. See it? So that's a cool little thing about 9s and repeaters. Here's what I'm telling you. In your homework, in the book, they're going to take you a different way. They're going to say, okay, and we're going to get into it now. They're going to say convert from decimal back to fraction, and they're going to give this to you. 0.4 repeating, right? Well, for most of us, what's 0.4? Well, 0.4 is 4/10, right? But 4/10 isn't 0.4 repeating. Remember, 0.4 repeating is 0.44444444444 going on forever, right? 4/10 is just 0.4 and stop. So, what's 0.4 repeating come from? It comes from 4 over 9. What does 0.4 come from? It comes from 4 over 10. Let's start talking about converting from decimals back to fractions, okay? Which is very easy, especially if you know your decimal places. Those of us who know our decimal places, converting from decimals back to fractions is a snap. But if we don't know our decimal places, it could be a little tricky because we forget. But I have some tricks I can show you that might be able to help you out. remember, once again, we live in the land of negatives, in the land of integers. So if they give you a negative decimal and they tell you to convert it to a fraction, make sure you write it as a negative fraction or else it's going to be wrong. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and talk about this. First, let's review the first 3 decimal places, because knowing your decimal places is key to being able to do this. All right. So the first decimal place to the right of the decimal point is called the tens place. That's equivalent to a fraction over 10. So for example, 0.3 is equal to 3/10, which is equal to 3 over 10. Okay? The second decimal place is the hundredths place. And that's equivalent to a fraction over 100. So if I have a decimal that ends 2 spaces to the right of the decimal point, that decimal's in the hundredths. So this, for example, 0.29, I can read as 0.29, or I can read more correctly as 29 hundredths, which is equivalent to the fraction 29 over 100. Okay? Same thing with the third decimal place is the thousandths. So 0.279, okay, is 0.279, but it's 279 thousandths. So it's equal or equivalent to the fraction 279 over 1,000. Okay? If you know these decimal places really well, and some of us do, then this stuff is a snap. I haven't told you anything new. Some of us, and we all need to know what our weaknesses and our strengths are, some of us don't know our decimal places really well. So is there a trick that can help us? And there is. I love this trick. I think this trick is great. Look here at this, what I have here, 0.9264, okay? Some of us, like I said, some of you watching this video right now say, oh yeah, that's 9,264 10,000ths. Good for you, because that's correct. Some of you are looking at this going, that's 0.9264. That's all I see, right? Because we're not good with the decimal places. So is there a trick? Yes. With any decimal number, if you forget what place you're reading to or how to read it, there's a very simple trick. All you do is this. Put a 1 under the decimal point and a 0 under every other number. And look at the number you get. What did I get? I get 10,000. That tells me what place that I'm in, what place this 4 is in, and how to read this decimal. So now I know that this is 9,264 10,000ths with that TH, right? If I want to write that as a fraction, I write 9264 over 10,000. And it works no matter how big or how long the decimal is. Let me show you another one. I'm just making up this number right off the top of my head. Let's say 0.520978663. Okay, that's long enough, right? So how do we read that decimal? Well, I don't know my places that long, so what can I do to help myself out? Put a 1 under the decimal point and a 0 under everything else. Put my commas in, and I realize that this is 100 million. So now if I look here, this is 52,097,863 millionths. Not too hard, right? Pretty good trick. So you can use this trick in converting from decimals to fractions if you get a little lost. Okay? Now, what else do you have to remember about converting from decimals to fractions? Well, let's say I get something like this. Let's go back to 0.24. And let's make it fun. Let's remember we're in the land of negatives. Let's make it negative 0.24. Okay? I have to convert this to a fraction. Is it enough to write negative 24 over 100? Because this is 24 hundredths. The answer to that question, I hope you all answered, is no. And I hope you all know by now, being advanced classes or 8th graders, is that you must always write your fractions in simplest form. So now I have to take 24 over 100 and write it in simplest form. And since 24 and 100 are both even, I know that at the very least, I could divide them by 2. But I could actually divide both these numbers by another number. I could divide them by 4. Okay? I could divide them by 4, because 24 divided by 4 is 6, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So I simplify. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 100 divided by 4 is 25. And my answer is negative 6 over 20. Negative 0.24, negative 24 hundredths, written as a fraction, is negative 6 25ths. Okay? To make sure that you simplify, that you bring it all the way down into simplest form. Very, very important. Okay? What if it's a mixed number? Alright? What if it's 7 and 36 hundredths? Okay? Well, the 7's the whole number here, right? Guess what it's going to be when we write the mixed number? It's going to be the whole number. So it's going to equal 7 and something over something. Well, where do we start? 36 over what? 36 over 100, right? Is this okay? No, we need to simplify, correct? So what's the biggest number we could divide both 36 and 100 by? 2? There might be 2. I don't think it's 2. Could it be 4? Well, let's give it a try. Okay? What's 36 divided by 4? That's ugly. What's 36 divided by 4? 9. What's 100 divided by 4? 25. Can I simplify this fraction any further? No? So my final answer, 7.36, converted to a mixed number, is 7 and 9 25ths. Please remember that if it's negative, before you convert it, you have to keep it negative. If it's not, then keep it positive.